Welcome everybody to ActiveRain University. Today we're doing a blogging blueprint for local events with maybe a little bit of a focus on Halloween, but the same things we're going to talk about here today are things that you can apply to local events really at any point in the year. So why are we here? Well, these types of posts, so posts about local events, just get a lot of traffic. And one of the things, Google's constantly evolving, and one of the things that's kind of developed over the last couple of years, and definitely with some of the more recent Google updates and with the addition of Google authorship, is Google is trying to find kind of a pattern of what it is that you write about. And so by writing about local events in conjunction with the other real estate stuff that you might be putting out there, and we've got all kinds of different blueprint classes about real estate stuff, right? Writing about specific condo buildings or specific subdivisions or doing market reports and those sorts of things. By supplementing that with content about local events, what we're able to do is first we're able to get some really good traffic, and I'm going to show you guys a couple of posts and some numbers for the amount of traffic these types of posts get. But what starts to happen is as you write about these kinds of things, right, the things happening in your local area, if you've got your Google authorship set up, if you have a consistent theme to the content that you produce, what happens is Google will start to look at all of that content that you're producing, and if they can find something in there, some kind of a theme, right, in this case it's the area that we're writing about, if we consistently write unique, fresh, good content about that theme, it's going to kind of be like the rising tide, right? It will bring all the ships up. In this case, all of our blog posts will kind of rise with that tide as we kind of demonstrate to Google that we're writing about this very specific thing. Now, these sorts of posts, these local event posts, they get a lot of traffic, and I'll be honest with you. I mean, it's not sharing something groundbreaking here. Somebody searching for information about the local haunted house is probably not going to find your blog post, go, oh my goodness, Will is a real estate agent, he gave me this great information about the local event, I need to buy a house with Will, right? That's probably not going to happen. But what this allows us to do is it allows us to get exposure to people in our local markets. Somebody that's searching for a local event, there's a really good chance that that person lives in your area. And if they're, and I like to think about it, if they're searching for a local event, there's probably, they may be new to the area, right? They might have just moved in, they might be renting. So there is a possibility that that person becomes a client of ours down the road. But the goal, first and foremost, is we're just want to expose our business to a bunch of people. Right? We want to get in front of people so that they start to see our name, recognize our name, and really you can think about it, because you will see this, right? When you go to the local haunted house, right, there's a pretty good chance that around that place somewhere are going to be some advertisements for some businesses. And really what you're doing is you're putting up an advertisement for your business next to this local event as somebody heads out and searches for it online. Right? It's very akin to somebody, being standing at the haunted house and looking up and seeing a real estate agent's sign or some business cards or something like that, right? It's a very loose kind of connection, but when we think about it in conjunction with the fact that as we start writing about events in our area and Google's seeing that we're creating this good, unique content about our area, right? That's gonna kind of like a rising tide. It's gonna bring all of our ships up. It's gonna bring all of our posts and then help them to perform better. So this time of year, there's a couple of things this time of year, right? As we're into October and kind of around Halloween, that are very popular and get a lot of traffic. And if every ActiveRain member out there or every person on ActiveRain who's in a different community was writing about these kinds of things, the amount of traffic would be drastically even higher. And these are some numbers from last year, the month of October, just around just the phrase pumpkin patch. And as you can see on the screen there, over 16,000 people landed on ActiveRain after having searched for something related to pumpkin patch or pumpkin patches in some area of the country. And so you can see Vancouver and Vegas and Lynchburg and Colorado Springs. These are all areas where our members were writing about pumpkin patches. And what happens is what you see on the screen there is not, every piece of traffic that went to that Vancouver pumpkin patch post, right? The 180 are just on that exact phrase. Now, a bunch of people search for it, pumpkin patch, Vancouver, comma, Washington, and those are a little bit further down this list. And, pumpkin patch, Vancouver, Washington, 2012, and there's a ton of variations on how somebody searched for that thing that would have landed them on that Vancouver pumpkin patch post. But what happens is these things get a bunch of traffic kind of coming from a lot of different angles. Now, these 5 that I have here on the screen are the more popular ones. Okay, here's an example of the haunted house. Right, over 9,000 people landing there, and you can see that the tops of these are similar, right? And then some of these are actually, maybe I used haunted as my, so we've got haunted hay rides, people looking for these things, but haunted houses, pumpkin patches, corn mazes, hay rides, and then just Halloween events. These things are searched for a lot. And so I'm going to give you kind of a formula to write a local events post like this. And then, we've still got enough time that these searches are happening right now in your market. But this formula that I'm going to give you for a local event is really something you can apply any time of year. And so I would encourage you, after this, we start to get into the voting, right? There's like balloting and elections going on, and people going online to find out, like, where is the local polling station? Or as we get into Christmas, people are looking for like Christmas Christmas lights and what areas have great Christmas lights. And then as you get into the spring, there's these local events happening in your guys' markets all the time. I don't know what the local events are in your market. But most of us, especially now in October, have something like what we're seeing here, right? That you've got a haunted house somewhere near you. There's a pumpkin patch, or many around you. There's corn mazes and hay rides, and there's definitely Halloween events, kind of this general deal. So there's 2 kind of ways that people search for this. I think they know what they want. So the more specific searches, like haunted houses in Chattanooga, or they'll actually look for the names of specific haunted or places that they might think to go, right? So like I've got an example, and we'll use this for our local events. Dr. Maze's is the name of this place that I wrote about. So they know something specific, or they don't know what they want. And when they don't know what they want is when they start to do searches like these more general ones, like Halloween events in Santa Clara County, or something like that. So we're going to go through and show you kind of 2 different types of posts. And I realized the headline on this class was 3 killer blog posts. I'm going to really show you 2, but when you think about all these different kind of really popular things that people are searching for this time of year, then you've got a lot more potential posts that you could write. So here is the kind of the framework for a local event blog post, and Carrie right now is actually going to send you out a link to this post right here. And this is a post. It's funny, when we were getting ready to start this call, Carrie said to me, "Oh, hey, you wrote about Dr. Maze's. That's the place you're going to share, and that's right down the street from my parents' house." And I said, "Oh, cool. Did you like that post?" And she said, "Yeah, it was really good." And I said, "It almost seems like I've been there, right?" And she said, "Yeah, have you not?" And I said, "No, I've never been here." If you were to read this post, I went out online and I just kind of got some information about Dr. Maze's Pumpkin Patch online. I've never been there. Now, I would expect with most of the local events you're going to write about, you guys have probably been to these things. But just to prove that you can do it, I've never been to Dr. Maze's Pumpkin Patch, but if you read this, I'm really darn sure that it would seem like I had. And this took me about 15 minutes to write this, even though I'd never been there before. So you can write about these local events, and there's enough information online, but it really comes down to, can you put it together in a format that if somebody's out there looking for it, it's going to be a good piece of information for them. So let's go in so you guys can kind of follow along. Carrie sent the link out to this. If you want to pull it up so that you've got maybe more control of the screen, or you can kind of look at what I'm talking about here as we go through. These are the things that we want to consider. And so you'll see at the top here, I've got the title, right? This is the title of my blog post. And I mean, this is, you know, we're restating something that if you've been in any of these classes with me previously, or if you've taken our blogging bootcamp series where we teach you how to write things that rank in the search engines, the first thing I'm going to have up here is the title of my blog post, and that is going to dictate how people find what I'm writing about, okay? So in this case, I'm trying to rank for Dr. May's Pumpkin Patch in Redmond, okay? And I even, and especially with local events, because these things have a shelf life. Now I'm going to show you that these posts continue to rank long past their shelf life, and we see traffic on blog posts year after year this time of year on blog posts that are 2 years old, that are 3 years old, that are 5 years old. So these posts have a shelf life, but I'm writing about it for today, and so in order to kind of, because as people search for local events, what happens, there's so much information on the internet about this stuff now that when they just search without the year, a lot of times what will happen is they'll get these old posts, right, like the old posts from ActiveRain that people still have active out there, and they're giving information about an event from 3 years ago. So I like to make sure that in my title I've got the year, if nothing else, okay? Then I'm going to get down here and in the body of my post, and if you're looking at my post live, you'll see that, you know, I've got my title up here, but then as I start the body of the post, I'm going to restate my title. And I just do that. That's one of our SEO fundamentals, right? It gets the keyword phrase that I'm trying to rank for into the page description, right? Again, that's from our SEO and our bootcamp class. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you some general info. Oops. I'm going to give you some general info right here at the top. Then I'm going to give you a little kind of synopsis, a little bit of my experience. So this is just a synopsis of You Pick Pumpkins at Dr. Mays' Pumpkin Patch. Then if you get in here and if you were actually to read this, I tell them a little bit about my experience with that local event. Now, like I said, I've never been to Dr. Mays', but if you read my blog post, I've been going here and picking pumpkins for 8 years now. But it gets into my experience, maybe a little bit more about kind of what's going on there. This bottom section for me, this really becomes the ability for my post to do something for me, to get some legs and to really be worth putting out there. So our post, when we write it, is going to you know, it's going to live on ActiveRain or in your blog, and it's going to, you know, go out there into Google and hopefully get us some traffic organically, right, where somebody goes online and searches for, you know, information about Dr. Mays' Pumpkin Patch. With this bottom section, these kind of insider tips, for me, these become why my post is worthy of being shared with anyone else. So when we think about Twitter, especially when we think about Facebook, like, why would, if I put my post out there, why would somebody else choose, say, this is a good post, I'm going to share this with my friends who might be going to Dr. Mays' this weekend. It's all about these insider tips. So you need to give them something, and we'll come back and really break this down again here in a second, but you need to give them something beyond what they'll find on the website, and generally that's based on the fact that you've been there. So title, and restate the title, and we talked about that, right? The basic info, and I like to have that basic info up at the very top, very clean and easy for people to find. It's kind of akin to when we're writing about our local subdivision or something. I like to have that link where somebody can find houses right there at the top, because if you think about a local events post, what do they want? A lot of times they just want the where is it, when is it, you know, how much does it cost, those sorts of things. And so I want to make those very clear right at the top of the post, because, look, I'm not trying to use this post as a way to sucker them into signing up for my website or something like that. Now, we'll talk about some of the things I might do on the page to kind of reinforce the fact that I'm a real estate agent, but put that information up there, because if you've been doing this for long enough, and if I can't see the list of folks right now who are on this call, but I'm sure there's a few of you that have done these types of posts over the years, and what you find is people will actually pick the phone up and call you and be like, I didn't see on your post about the Dr. Mays', you know, how much pumpkins were per pound, and they'll actually call you, and a lot of times you don't have the answers for these sorts of things. But I try to get all that basic information right at the top really quick so that, you know, again, a consumer landing here, they're probably wanting some basics. Now, if they're wanting to get into what this is about, and if they're really thinking about going to this pumpkin patch versus some other one or something like that, right? Then I'm going to give them my little brief synopsis and a couple paragraphs with my experience. And then again, we get to this last section here where it's insider tips. And to me, again, I'll just restate, this makes these posts kind of worth it to me, right? If I'm, I always think about the events that I go to, and it's like, if you've ever been to one of these, like, I went not too long ago to the Bite of Seattle, and I remember thinking when I went to the Bite of Seattle, like, gosh, I wish I just would have brought a backpack with a couple bottles of water in it. Like, I just paid $5 for a bottle of water that I easily could have, paid 75 cents for and brought in my backpack. Like, that's a good insider tip if I was heading to that local event that I would have liked to known. Right? I might have liked to known that I was going to end up paying $15 to park unless I found free parking in Queen Anne. Like, there's these things that any event after you leave, you think, man, I wish I would have known that. Right? Those are the types of tips that you could share in these posts. And again, this is what makes them worth being shared. Right? Now it's something that's shareable. So let's get out here and let's look at this post. Okay, the formatting on this post, you guys, I'm trying to use something that's really clean and clear, right? Again, I like that professional presentation. I've got one image in here. If I'd been to Dr. Maze's pumpkin patch last year with my kids, right, I'd probably put a photo in here of my son holding the pumpkin that he picked out last year. Right? But I'm not going to throw 30 pictures in here about my trip to Dr. Maze's last year and how great of a time me and the kids had. I don't necessarily know that just some random out there would be that interested in that, right? They might appreciate one photo of my son with a pumpkin from Dr. Maze's. But other than that, there's not a ton of like, this is not rocket science by any means, but I think formatting them in a fashion that gets the information real clean for somebody in the beginning, right? And then a little bit of your personal experience. This content in here, this personal experience, and even these insider tips, these are going to be the content that gets your post ranking, right? Google is getting so much better at looking inside of a blog post and determining unique content. Is there content in here that's better than other similar content out there for this particular subject matter? Okay, this is the content in here, this, like, my personal experience, these insider tips. These are the things that allow our posts to rank, because this information, the who, what, when, where, why, this stuff's out there. It's on the events websites, maybe on their Facebook page. If you've got like a local, like there's these websites called Patch, those have information on. I mean, and it's on the local news site. It's in a lot of places, so it becomes this kind of, what things can we write about this that makes this a unique piece of content and makes it worthy of Google showing us off. So this is one where it's like a very specific thing. It's either a specific local event, I know about it, but let's say that I was going to write about a conglomerate of events, right? So this is for those people that don't know what they want, and in some cases, this might be around like specific things. So I just did Halloween events in Santa Clara County, but I could have done, pumpkin patches in Santa Clara County. And then what I do in this post is, again, I'm going to restate my title. Okay, I just give just one little kind of synopsis of what you're about to get down here. Okay, and then I just go in and I'm giving you event, a little bit of a synopsis of the event, and then when and where. Okay, if I have contact information, I give that. So I've got 4 different events there, but what happens now is these become kind of, I throw these into one post, and now I've got a post ranking out there for Halloween events in Santa Clara County. Now, I wrote this one yesterday, so and I checked it yesterday, like right after. We'll see if I rank this first page or not. Yeah, I'm ranking down here a little bit, okay? And let's just look at this post, because this is literally out of this blog is the second blog post I've ever written. So it's on that first page. But there's a couple of things that I'm not doing that you would be doing that would help you rank even better. The first one would be is I do not have Google authorship set up. Okay, and in fact, this morning we launched a brand new thing on ActiveRain to help you get your Google authorship set up. I wonder if it'd be, we'll have enough time. I'm going to go through and show you because it's ultra important. I'm going to show every one of you how to get Google authorship set up, because if I had Google authorship set up on this, the first thing is my picture would show up here, right? My little photo would show up here. So even if it didn't move me in the search results, what's happening is when your picture shows up, it's actually getting higher click-through rates than, see that lady down there? I could have that happening for my blog if I set Google authorship up. The second thing that happens then is because now you, right, not me, because this is only my second post in this blog, but you, because you're always writing about it. In this case, let's say it was Santa Clara and I was an agent here in San Jose. If I was always writing about San Jose, always writing about stuff in Santa Clara County, what's going to happen is Google's going to look at this post and they're going to say, hey, here's somebody that's posted, 150 different articles about what's going on in this particular area of the country, right? They can trace all that back to me through Google authorship, and they may float my posts up because they see me as this author who knows all about this area. Does that make sense? So again, here's a post that, even though I just wrote it 20 hours ago, it's on the first page, and again, they have no authorship markings on me, so they don't really know the history of me as an author, and they also don't. It's a brand new blog, so they're not seeing me as somebody who's been writing about this area a lot. Again, so, on this particular post, like I just went out, I found another post about Halloween events in Santa Clara County, and I just borrowed from it. Now, I didn't copy, right, but that one had like 15 different events on it, and I just took 4 that I'm planning on hitting this month, right? Like this weekend I said I'm going to 2 haunted houses. I'm going to this one, and I'm going to this one. So these are things that I want to see, and then I just went in here and I wrote these little descriptions. Again, this is based on their websites, right? This one probably took me 20, 25 minutes because I wasn't familiar with these things. I had to get familiar, but had I been to these, like next year when I wrote this post, it'd be a lot easier because I will have been to these things. I'll show you these. So like, as we were looking earlier look at his post. Like this one right here is probably not quite as well formatted as like something like this. Oops. If he had haunted houses in Chattanooga, a little bit cleaner layout, right? Doesn't matter. Like this post for him, now this was an old post, and I mentioned that these things continue to come up, and what's been happening is year after year, this time of year, as people have gone online and searched for haunted houses in Chattanooga, his post has continued to come up, and so over the years it's racked up a ton of traffic. Every year this post is getting about 1,200 clicks a year, but they're really just happening this time of year, right? So in this month it's gotten, it's continuing to tack on clicks year after year after year. We want to make sure these things are in a format that's really clean and easy for people to read and to understand. But here's the deal. I don't want you to forget something, and that something is that you guys sell real estate. Okay? So what you need to do is somewhere you need to have some kind of calls to action that are real estate related. And maybe they're not even real estate related. Maybe they're just, hey, I'm out here providing great local information to you related, which would be like down here at the bottom in our signature line, right? Connecting with me on YouTube or Google Plus or LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook, right? Maybe you've got like maybe you've created a local page for your market on Facebook, and you would say, hey, you want to keep up on what's going on in town? Like join this Facebook page. Right? And then you always want to have somewhere in there, right, where somebody can search for homes. Because if we think about this, at any given time, like 8% of the population is within 30 days of moving. if that's the case, right, then it would figure that occasionally somebody's going to come across our content that might be in a position where they're getting ready to think about moving. Right? Again, it's not the point of these things. The point of these things is to get some good kind of brand recognition. The point is to write content about your area so that Google starts to increase like who you are in the eyes of Google as an author. But it makes sense since we sell real estate to somewhere on our page, and like here I've got it in this right-hand area, right? To allow somebody to search for homes or definitely to connect with us. We can use these posts as a way to grow our circle, right, to grow the people that we're connected to, maybe on Facebook, on our business page, and definitely give them the opportunity to search if they want it. So right now I'm going to, because this is so important to the concept of what we're talking about, but it's really important to just overall to your success with search engine optimization and getting your content to rank in Google. And since we just did this new thing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to show you guys where you want to go to get your Google authorship set up. Because right now, because it literally just came out yesterday, the post that teaches you this needs a little bit of an update. So I'm going to show you where to go. So I'm going to come here to my home page. And what I want to do is I'm going to get in and edit my profile. And when I go in to edit my profile, it's got some hopefully you guys have all been in and edited your new profiles and kind of filled these things out a little bit. We've got this section right here that says Find Me At. And what this is going to do is on your blog posts and on your profile, it will start to bring in your social media areas. This one right here is for your Google+. And what you can do, and I've already done this, so it's not going to, what this will do is it will allow you to tie in to your Google account. Okay, and once you tie into your Google+ account, it will pull in your Google+ profile URL. Okay, and then you can import it, and so I've tied mine in, I've imported it, I can verify it. It says, yeah, you got the right link. And then what I need to do is I need to come over here to my Google+ profile. So boom, it pulled it up. I'm already logged into it on my computer. Okay, and in this About area, cover photos just got bigger. I can change I need to come down here to the links section. Okay, and then I'm going to edit this section, and under Contributor 2, under the Contributor 2 section, so let's say this wasn't here, okay? I'm going to add a custom link. I'm going to call this whatever I'm writing about. So in my case, maybe it was Seattle area, or I'm in San Jose. San Jose area, real estate news, something like that. And then for the URL, I'm going to put the URL of my ActiveRain profile.
Hey Bob, I think you want to use the Add Custom Link under Other Profiles.
Here? What do you?
Above the top one.
Nope. It's going to be under the Contributor 2 section. Promise. Let's try. So this is for, I'm going to add it into the Contributor 2. Okay, so I give it a name. I link to my ActiveRain page, right? And I'm going to hit Save. Now there's a place that I can test this out, and let me go grab it real quick. And Carrie, I'm going to, maybe you could follow along with me, Carrie, and I'm going to have you send this to everybody so that they can test to make sure their Google authorship is set up right. So this is the step-by-step, but this is the old way. So this will be updated by the end of today. But at the bottom here, there's a little place where we can go run a test. And so Google's got this page where we can figure out whether or not we've set our Google authorship up correctly. So I'm going to come back here. I've got this all done here, so I'm going to go ahead and save it. Okay, so I've got my Google Plus profile in there. I've gone over to Google Plus, and I've added my link back to, if you look at the bottom left-hand portion of the screen, you'll see that's a link back to my profile on ActiveRain. So then I'm going to come over here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Google, is my blog set up with Google authorship. Yay. And if I get it set up right, it'll tell me authorship is working for this web page when I do this little test. Okay, if you're on this call right now, okay, first off, if you don't have Google+, you just get one, right? If you can go to plus.google.com if you've got Gmail, or if you have a Google account, or if you have a YouTube account, any of these things, you actually already have a Google+ account set up. Google set one up for you automatically, even though you didn't know it. But if you get logged in on your browser to Google+, then when you come here and you do this little Find Me At, it will give you an ability to log in. Right here it'll say log into my Google+, then you can import your URL, then you can verify it, then you just come down here and click this little link, which will take you back to your About section on your Google+. You'll come down here and edit the links. You'll come in here and add that custom link, which will be a link back to your profile on ActiveRain. You have to do this. Do it right now. I promise you. Your face won't start showing up immediately in search results, but sometime over the next week or 3, your face will start to show up in search results. Let's see if I can give you an example here. Here's the example. So I've written a post, and this is on my own account here on ActiveRain about the Plaza del Sol condos for sale. You know what's funny is this post still gets a lot of traffic, and it was a demo post I did for one of these classes, for one of these blueprint classes. But it ranks in the search engine, and one of the reasons is, right, I'm starting to give Google that information about me as an author, and I'm not even giving them good information because not everything I write is about Seattle, whereas like you guys are writing about your local markets, and that information, you know, it's like a tide. It helps all of your posts rise up. But the fact that my picture's in there, like look at this search result from the perspective of what's on the page right now. There's a video, which is great, and then there's my picture here, and what Google's telling us is when your picture's on there, you're getting click-through rates that are similar to what you would see in a position 1 or 2 or 3 positions higher. So super important. All right, so what I want you to do, here's what I want you to do. Now, the people that registered for this class but did not attend today, they're going to get the recording, and you guys are all going to get the recording. What the people that registered but didn't attend are not going to get is a chance for an extra 3,000 points for your ActiveRain account. If you write 3 posts about local events in your market, what we'd like you to do is email those to Carrie. And Carrie's email address is just, ready? It's super challenging. Carrie@activerain.com. That's her email address. What I want you to do, I want you to write 3 posts about local events, and then email the links to those posts to Carrie@ActiveRain.com, and she'll give you 3,000 points for your effort. If it's about haunted houses, corn mazes, hay rides, pumpkin patches, Halloween events, do it soon, right? The sooner the better, right? People are starting to search for these things. They've been searching for them for the last couple of weeks. That's okay, right? We saw my post that was 20 hours old ranking in the search engine. We can get ourselves up there. We can get some traffic. One last thing I want to show you. Oh, now this is going to... Okay, this is going to take me just 1 second to find really quick, but I promise it'll be worth it. So I'm going to go in here to Inspiration. So we always have this area in ActiveRain under Resources called Inspiration. And every week, Carrie will put something out there to give you guys some suggestions about things that you could and should be writing about. Okay? We do this based on our intelligence from last year at this time. So Carrie knows, after having gone into the analytics for ActiveRain, she knows that right now people are starting to look for early voter information. They're starting to look for information about where they can vote in their area. Okay, so she said, hey, she's giving you guys an inspiration station about writing about these things. I think it's one of these. Let me just look in here real quick. Oh yeah, it was this one, Smith's Pumpkin Patch. So we got this lady here. right? And she wrote about Smith's Pumpkin Patch. Now, this is an older post, I believe. This is from previous years. Carrie was going back and looking through posts from previous years. But think about this now. Think about this post as opposed to the post I wrote, right? If somebody just wanted information about Smith's Pumpkin Patch and they found my blog post, right? I mean, where's, like, when's it open? Where is it? So we had to scroll a little bit. We want to give them that information nice and clean and soon. But that's okay. She's got this post about Smith's Pumpkin Patch. Let's say it came out here to Facebook, right? And she's local to the area, so it wouldn't have been crazy if she had friended or liked Smith's. Looks like my browser or Facebook or something. Hey, there's my grandma. My grandma's 90th birthday was recently. She got to go up in a helicopter. My cousin's a helicopter pilot, so we took her up for her birthday. Smith's Pumpkin Patch. Okay. So I'm just a little bit about the sharing side of this content, right? So Smith's Pumpkin Patch is here, and I actually came in here yesterday, and I liked them. Okay, so if I was local to her area, which I'm not, but she's an agent in Lynchburg, Virginia, it wouldn't be crazy for her to like Smith's Pumpkin Patch. But now she's written about Smith's Pumpkin Patch. So let's take this post that she's written about Smith's Pumpkin Patch, and let's act like we were her, and we're going to come here, and we're going to write a post about Smith's, or we're going to share a post about Smith's Pumpkin Patch. Okay, so we're going to get a good thumbnail. Here's a little secret about Facebook, and some of you guys may know this, but if you don't, here you go. After you enter the URL in here, and it loads it into this area right here, you can get rid of that URL. So we don't have to have that crazy URL sitting out there. So let's do something like this. We're going to tag Smith's Pumpkin Patch in our post. So what does this do? It lets the people that run Smith's Pumpkin Patch know that we're a local agent in this area who's written some cool thing about how awesome Smith's Pumpkin Patch is. Now I can even come in here. I can even come into this area and I can change what these things say. So maybe because I've got some, let's say I did 4 really great tips about getting the most out of being at Smith's, I might say 4 tips to have a great day at Smith's. And then I can come in here and say tip number 1, bring boots. Patch is code for dirty. Right? And now when I post that, it's not going to be, it's going to be what I want, right? I've directed it at Smith's Pumpkin Patch. I don't have that nasty URL up here. I've given them a little bit of a teaser of what they can expect if they click through to this blog post, right? That's sharing your post in a really efficient and good way. Okay, Smith's is going to be made to know. It's going to give people that see it in my stream a reason to share it, or a reason to click through to the post itself. Check out my post for 3 more tips for a great day at Smith's. All right, and I would just hit post. I might even open this thing up and make it public instead of just sharing it with friends and family. That way the people that could potentially find it through Smith's Pumpkin Patch page would be able to see it and get to it. All right, let's go back here. Does anybody have any questions about anything that we have talked about here today? Susan says, wow, I thought you couldn't touch that at all. Yeah, that's a pretty cool, knowing that you can manipulate what these things says can really help you. And now, once you know that, you start to think about like the things you're sharing and how you can really like write headlines in these areas that make, because look, when we write the post itself, we want it to be SEO friendly, right? So she did a good job here of Smith's Pumpkin Patch, Ford Ave, Lynchburg, Virginia. Like that, from an SEO perspective, she did a good job of writing the title of this post. But when we pull it over to Facebook, right, then it's not like having it be that title. It isn't so, from a marketing perspective, it's not as powerful as if we can go back and manipulate and change it. So yeah, absolutely. You can change this title here, and you can change this description whenever you upload a link to Facebook. Alex says, have you found different holidays that carry more Google juice than others? The 4th of July is the number one. Halloween is number two. Easter has a lot around it. Christmas doesn't. Christmas has a lot, but it's tough because it's not the local events aren't quite as pronounced. It's, you know, you get a lot of stuff around like Christmas lights, or like you'll see searches like where to go see Christmas lights, things like that. But the 4th of July is a ridiculous spike. Like it is, you absolutely should be writing about where to go see the fireworks in your area. Those posts just get traffic off the charts. We have one lady in Raleigh, North Carolina that writes a post for like 6 or 8 different towns around Raleigh, and in any given 4th of July, she's picking up between 12 and 14,000 visits to her blog because of those posts. So Andrea says, I'm on Google+, however, where is the numeric code? So here's what happens, because when you first go to plus.google.com, right, Google actually knows like you're here, but it doesn't give you your code. If you go through ActiveRain and you log in, it will actually pull your code in. Like the ActiveRain setup will do it all for you. Here's what, if you just went straight to Google.com, in order to find your code, you'd have to come over here to Home, go to your profile, and then what it does is it gives you the code, but it also gives you this little piece at the end here. You don't want that piece. All you want is the plus.google.com and the code. So you could delete posts and you could just grab that section right there and copy it. But again, if you go in through ActiveRain and log into your Google through ActiveRain, it will pull that code in for you, so you can't mess it up. Okay, so hopefully everybody got that in the instructions there on so I'm just going back through some of your questions here. Okay, Susan says, if we think we did it, how do we check again? So what you want to do to check, and I'll send you out this link right here. Carrie may have already sent it out, but I'll send it again. It's this google.com/webmasters/tools/rich snippets. And I'm going to chat that. Let's see if she, yeah, I'm going to chat this out to everybody here. So I just chatted you out this link. And again, all you'll do once you think you've got it all set up is you'll come in here and you'll put a link to your blog, or you could even do a link to one of your blog posts, like this Plaza del Sol condos. That's actually a post in my blog. I could do a link to a post in my blog, or I could just do a link to my blog. And essentially what it'll do is it'll show me this thing is working. And then it'll show me what it's going to look like in the search engine, right? What my face is going to look like. And just know that this image right here gets pulled out of whatever image you're using for your Google+. Couple of things about this. It will not work if you don't actually have a face in this image. Okay, so if you have like your company logo or something like that on your Google+, change it. You have to have your face in here in order for Google to show you as the author, right? They're looking for real people. And then another thing you might run into is if you have more than one face on your Google+ profile, they're not going to show results. So you have to have one face, and it can't be a logo for your company. Yeah, Mary Jo, so what we'll do now at the end, we'll take the recording, and we'll take some of the links that we shared in here. We'll put all of that stuff into one blog post, and then we will email out the link to that blog post for you guys, so you can come back to the blog post, you can follow the links around, you can watch my video a lot slower. And then remember, if you want to do, like if you say, okay, I'm ready for my 1,000 points, I want to do this local event deal, what you can do, let me find my post here. What you can do is you can come back to my post right here if you want, and you could copy the formatting. Now the formatting is not too challenging on this, but you could come in here and copy the formatting, and then you could just get in here and paste it in. It looks like that centered it up for me, so I'm not sure why it did that exactly, but we can fix that pretty easily, I think. So now I've got the post in here, right? And then you guys can just come in here and change the post to make it, your stuff, right? So you can grab that same formatting and let it hold, and then you don't have to worry about the spacing or getting these subheaders set up or doing the who, what, when, where, whys, right? You've got the framework for it right there, and you can just fill it in with the information for your local event, title it with your local event, and you're off and running. Okay. I don't see any other questions here. You guys have a fantastic rest of your week, an awesome weekend, and don't forget the Seahawks are playing tonight on Thursday Night Football. Go Seahawks. Have a great weekend, everybody. On behalf of Carrie and Michelle behind the scenes, I'm Bob at ActiveRain University. Bye-bye, everybody.